Of the NHL betting show Pucks Across Borders on Total Apex Sports and Sports Addict Live, brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off tons and tons of cards. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. That's right. Do the math. 20 becomes 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60% off. Take your pick. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing. You want it? I promise you they have it. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code SportsAddict for 10% off regular price and sales price items. That's the number one. STRoundcollectibles.com, firstroundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast.
And welcome to this Monday edition of Pucks Across Borders. Monday night, 3 games in the NHL. We are going to break down what we feel from a betting perspective and, of course, from a game perspective as well. Lots to get into before we do. Lots to get into from the weekend. Lots to get into tonight, Andre. But first, as always, how you doing, bro? It's good to see you.
Yeah, man, long overdue. It's good to see you. We've missed a lot. And I think the most important thing for everyone watching right now and listening, and for you, Mark, I'm going to tell you this as well, for your son, get them into baseball. They might make $1 billion.
Oh, my gosh.
They're a pro. So that's the moral of the story. Teach your kids how to swing a bat.
I know. It's so funny. Like, as an NHL fan, you get this a lot, right? I haven't seen it yet. I have been home. My wife's gone. Been watching my son. I haven't been on Twitter today as much as I am usually, but inevitably, you're going to see the tweet comparing the highest paid players in other sports to the highest paid player in the NHL, right? You're going to see it.
Of course.
I understand the money. I understand the TV rights and the popularity, and I understand why other sports make more money than the NHL as far as the players' salaries go. I understand all that. What always gets me with baseball is 15 years? A 15-year deal? You're going to pay this guy until he's 41 years old? That is what's always crazy to me. The money compared to the NHL, like, I understand it. And we used to have these contracts, not quite 15 years, but we used to have these contracts, right? Shea Weber was like a 10-year deal. There were other players. That's why, like, Chris Pronger, I believe, is still getting paid. He may be off the books as of the last couple of years, but recently Chris Pronger was getting paid. And that just tells you how crazy these contracts were. So, but the 15 years, that's what always gets me.
I think we should talk about, though. You remember in 2010, Ilya Kovalchuk, 17 years from the Devils?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't the league have to break that one up, and they reduced it to 15?
I think you're right about that. Yeah, and it was one of the last CBAs where the highest, like the longest term you could get is 8. That's like a max now. That's like recent. But yeah, I forgot about that. That's insane.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to a long, I guess, max life NHL contract in a bit, aren't we? You haven't had a chance to talk about that one yet.
I guess we haven't talked about that yet, have we? Well, we're going to get to it. Shout out to Gabe, our guy, Curious Sports Pulse. Check out his show at 6 p.m. That guy's a legend. I guess I'll say it. Personal shout out. I'm going to be on his show tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh,
I'll
nice.
be on there tomorrow night. I don't know. I know those guys love to talk football. Maybe he'll ask me some baseball stuff. I have no idea, but I'm going to be on there, and I can't wait for it. I love hanging out with those guys. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Rangers. Don't you worry. I believe the contract you're referring to is your guy, Igor Shesterkin, and we're going to talk about the Rangers. Don't you worry. We've been talking about the Rangers a lot. I don't want to lead off the show with the Rangers because we're going to get to it, and I feel like it's going to be a somewhat lengthy conversation. So we'll get to it. But first, let's quickly go through Sunday. Pretty busy Sunday in the NHL. More than we're used to. I feel like Sundays have been busier this year than years past. That might just be my perception, but and inevitably we talk about the Rangers first. 7-5 losing to the Seattle Kraken yesterday afternoon. The Lightning beat the Canucks 4-2. The Islanders beat the Senators 4-2. Don't look now. Islanders getting hot a little bit, eh? 4-2, and Ottawa being Ottawa. The Blue Jackets, and what was the more surprising result of the day? Blue Jackets beating the Jets 4-1, a 1-1 game, and the Jets and the Blue Jackets rather explode in the third period, 4-1 final score. Avalanche shut out the Devils 4-0. We're going to talk about them in a little bit here as well. Utah beating Philly 4-2, and talk about crazy third periods. The Calgary Flames, Dallas Stars tied 2-2 in what was a really, really good hockey game. I watched that whole game. Really great hockey game. And tied 2-2 going into the third, and the Stars just ignited for 4 goals and ended up beating the Flames 6-2. All right. Before we get in, we got a trade that happened today. Of course, Rangerland is incredibly dramatic right now. We're going to get into both those things. But before we do, besides the Colorado trade, besides the Rangers, what was your takeaway from this weekend in the NHL?
Yeah, at first I was going to big up the Capitals for just continuing to do what they do, especially since more so than Saturday's win against Montreal, Friday's win against your boys, the Leafs. I was like, wow, real head turner there. But they haven't really done anything notable besides continue to win. Whereas I feel like the Winnipeg Jets, every game looks the same these days. I know they ended the losing streak. They beat Buffalo 3-2. Then they came back and beat the worst team in the league 4-2. Required OT to beat Buffalo. And then obviously the Blackhawks are the Blackhawks. But for the most part, it seems like all of their games are just 1-4, 1-3 losses right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a combination of them not scoring and giving up, 4 or 5 goals, 3 goals, whatever. Just a complete. They were going to come back down to earth. They were always going to come back down to earth, revert back to normalcy. Was law of averages,
sure,
that ordeal, whatever. But you'd expect it to be more competitive with the way the team was playing, with the way they're structured. Just a couple bad luck bounces.
When you get dressed.
It happens.
It does happen.
I don't know how many times my son has made himself a part of this show, so it happens. It's all good.
Yeah. So we're clear now. It's just flat. They look flat right now. You said the Blue Jackets game was kind of surprising, and to an extent it was. You expect them to beat the Blue Jackets, but you also expect them to beat the Blues. You also expect them to beat the Predators, and they're just not. And all 3 of those games, I picked those games because they were the worst teams. Coincidentally, all 3 of those games were 4-1 losses. They just don't have it offensively, defensively, and they will be fine. One would think, but it's rough sledding right now in Winnipeg.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It's super interesting, Gabe. That's a great point, man. It is super interesting. I was on record and saying, like, obviously, like you said, we knew they'd have to regress at some point. I was on record saying, why does it have to be a crazy regression, though? Like, why can't this team just be the best team in the league all year long? And right now, it really is, it's, it's been raw. And I mean, listen, like last 10, they're 4-6 in the last 10, right? So you just mentioned the most recent games, but the last 10 games have been pretty tough sledding for them. And it's not even like those are nights where Connor Hellebuck isn't in the net. He's been in the net for a lot of these, and you got to wonder, like, I haven't checked exactly. Fact check me, absolutely. I'm gonna assume that Connor Hellebuck has played way more than any other goaltender in the league. Like, I'm gonna assume that he has played way more, even than like Shesterkin. I bet you that Connor Hellebuck is right up there as the goalie who's played the most. And I don't know, like, I didn't watch that game yesterday, full disclosure. I didn't hear much about it. I don't know how good the goals were, if he's getting tired or what, but you are starting to see not even come back down to earth. It's been a really tough 10 games.
Yeah. And you're spot on. He's second in games started and second in time on ice behind UC Saros, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Saros balls out for a terrible team. They kind of need him to drag them to competitiveness. So
yeah,
I get it. But they're the only two goalies above 1,250 if you're talking about minutes played, let alone 1,300. They're both above 1,300. So yeah, he's getting a lot of usage.
And it's funny that you say that, because I'm surprised that he's not the most used goaltender. But then when you say Saros, that makes sense. But, and I don't really want to talk about Nashville. It's dead. It's done. We've talked about them enough. That being said, Nashville is beating nobody right now. They're losing to everyone. And they beat you 4-1 in your own barn, like, recently. I think it was in Winnipeg. I could be wrong.
That game
maybe it was
Nashville.
Oh, it was in Nashville. Okay. But regardless, like, Nashville is beating no one, and you lost pretty decidedly to them just last week. It's funny that you said that you were going to talk about Washington and you chose not to. And that works out. We didn't talk about this beforehand because I want to talk about Washington. I think, and like I said this in September, that I think they're going to be a good team. They weren't good last year. They made it into the playoffs. The roster moves that they made the team better. How much better, I don't know, but they're better. I thought the Logan Thompson signing was huge. Both those goaltenders really good. Like, I thought that they were going to be a good team, and I picked them to go to the playoffs. But what they're doing right now, man, so Washington Capitals, they are 19-6-2, 40 points, first place in the Eastern Conference. At home, they're 8-4-2. Away, they're 11-2. The last 10, 7-2-1. They're on a 2-game winning streak. I would have to check all the other stats or whatever. I know that they lead the league in scoring right now. If memory serves me correctly, they're averaging over 4 goals a game. And I believe they're the only team to do that. I feel like I need to fact check myself right now real quick. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, they are 4.04 goals per game, which is first. They allow 2.74 goals per game, which is seventh. Their power play is in the middle of the pack at 21.2%, but their penalty kill is third in the league at 83.7%. Ovi hasn't played in 9 games. They're 6-2-1 since Ovi has been out. I think, again, fact check me, but based on memory, they're only getting better, and they're a really good team. And without Ovi, doing this without Ovi. Now, if this happened last year, Ovi didn't have a good year until after the All-Star break. He went to Dubai and something. He's like the hockey version of Aaron Rodgers, just disappeared, And except he's actually playing well, but that's a different conversation. Um, yeah, sorry, sorry, everybody, sorry. But even without Ovi, last year that wouldn't have really said much. But Ovi was having the best start of his career this year. So I don't know, man. The other thing that I noticed today, and I don't know why I was looking into this or why I noticed this, but I was thinking about, so we'll go backwards, but this are the teams. It's not like they've had this like cupcake schedule either. Like, yes, recently uh they beat Montreal on Saturday, second half of a back to back. They beat the Leafs Friday night. The Leafs are a really good team right now. They beat the Leafs Friday night. Yes, they beat the Sharks, but they beat the Devils 6-5. They beat the Islanders 5-4. I know the Islanders aren't great, but they'll play you hard. They beat the Lightning. They beat the Panthers. They have beat Vegas twice. They beat Colorado. Um, they beat the Rangers. I know the Rangers are going through what they're going through, but they're still a good team. And that was earlier in the year. Well, not even that much earlier, but yeah, it was earlier in the year. They beat Philly back to back. They beat Dallas. They beat the Devils again. Like, they've been beating really good teams all year. And so for me, it's not like you're looking at a team that's just, beating the bad teams. They've had a pretty balanced schedule and they've played some really tough teams and they're beating them all. And they play Columbus on Wednesday night. And I know that Columbus has been a really good story and they've been giving teams problems. But why wouldn't that just be another win? I just think Washington, we're moving past this feel good story and past this surprise that the Capitals are what they are. And now we need to have the conversation moving forward of, is this team a legit Stanley Cup contender? Because even though the Capitals have been playing well, I still don't feel like they've been in that conversation. I feel like the Stanley Cup contender conversation is still the Carolinas, the Rangers, the Devils have even been in that conversation. The Panthers, the Leafs are creeping in there, but I'm not listening to those. And then obviously, the Oilers are still a big part of that. Like, dude, bear with me. I'm going to look this up real quick. I saw this today too. So as of earlier today, it may have changed, but we'll look into it here together. Earlier today, the Washington Capitals were 35-1 to win the Stanley Cup. 35-1. And I just want to make sure that is still accurate. Okay, they're 34-1 now. Ahead of them are the Boston Bruins at 30-1. Both Boston and the Kings are both 30-1. The Canucks are 22-1. Minnesota's 20-1. Tampa Bay, Winnipeg, both 18-1. Vegas, 16-1. Rangers, 14-1. Leafs, 13-1. Avalanche, Devils, all 12-1. Panthers, 10-1. Dallas Stars, 9-1. Edmonton and Carolina at 8-1. That's all courtesy of FanDuel. Like, to me, the Washington Capitals at 34-1, they shouldn't have worse odds than Boston, Vancouver, Tampa Bay. I don't know, like the Rangers, not right now. Edmonton's 8-1, and I feel like I don't know, man. I feel like Washington Cup love. Of course, only one team wins it. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I feel like they need to be a part of this conversation now.
Yeah, no, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Of the teams you listed, I don't really have a problem with them being even with the Kings, as strange as that sounds, but they've been better than Boston all year long. Like, let's be real. They've been better than Tampa all year long. Tampa can't win on the road. You talk about The Rangers, I mean, obviously they started high. It's going to take a lot to drop them from where they were because I think they started the year like third at most places, but they should be
Yeah.
closer to the Rangers, you would think, based on what's happening right now. They should
Yeah.
be ahead of the Oilers based on what the Oilers have done this year. I'm right there with you. And I know, I get it. Books tend not to overreact. They tend to look at long-term picture, long-term projections, blah, blah, blah. It's how they keep the money in their hands. But sometimes you got to recognize what's unfolding in front of you, even if the roster didn't change, even if, the coaches didn't change, whatever. Performances change, and what this Washington team is doing is clicking in every facet of the game. So the team that got swept out of the playoffs last year is not the team that's ruling the Eastern Conference right now.
Well, and I think that's my point, man, is like, yeah, you don't overreact, but I don't think this is overreacting anymore. Like, I think this team has been the exact same for 2.5 months or 2 months. They've been the exact same. I'm really impressed with what we're seeing. And let's even just quickly before we wrap up this conversation, let's go the other way, Andre. Let's go the other way. I listed to you, and I agree with you. Like, for the Rangers to be ahead of the Capitals in the Stanley Cup odds, that's fine. To be double the price, more than double the price as the Rangers, that's where you lose me. But let's go to the other side, all right? I just listed everyone that's ahead of them. Let's go the 2 teams that are below them, all right? So 34-1, like I said, the Washington Capitals. There are 2 teams that are 40-1. 2 teams that are 40-1. Then it goes to the rest of the league, starting at 55-1 and longer. All right. 40-1. The 2 teams are the Ottawa Senators and the Nashville Predators. How does that make sense? Like, the Washington Capitals are 34-1 and Ottawa and Nashville are 40-1. I don't know, man. Like, and I get it. Like you said, I get how the books operate, but like, to me, that's just ultra disrespectful. And I kind of want to place the bet just out of spite, which isn't a way to spend your money, but that's how I feel right now.
I mean, I think that's just a FanDuel problem, honestly. No, that's ridiculous though. Nashville should be hanging out with the Blackhawks right now.
Yeah.
DraftKings has
that's protection though. That's protection. Just in case Nashville figures this out. I don't know. What are you gonna say? DraftKings what?
There's no just in case here. Can we I know we've already written them off. We've killed them. We had a funeral, bagged them, tagged them. But just in case everyone listening isn't clear, the Nashville DraftKings 2 teams as far as odds, the Predators and the Islanders. So
okay. That's interesting.
Islanders, kind of understandable.
Well, like the Islanders are plus 5,500 here. What's Ottawa over there?
Yeah, Isles are plus 6,000 on DK, and Senators are plus 7,000. The next team.
And what are the Capitals?
Plus 35.
Okay, they are. Yeah. It's super interesting to me. I just think the conversation has to be had, man. They're beating good teams, and they're doing what they got to do too. Like, they're winning games 2-1 if they have to. And the other night they had a track meet with the Devils, 6-5, or the other night, a week or 2 ago, whenever it was. They're winning however they need to, and it's super impressive. All right, moving on. Moving on. There was a trade today, Andre. Did you hear about this trade?
I did, from you, which is surprising because this guy is one of my favorite players.
Yes. The San Jose Sharks, and I'm reading this straight off of TSN.ca. Since we're in Canada, I'm in Canada, so we're going to do this Canadian style. The San Jose Sharks have traded goaltender, and this happened at 3:19 p.m. earlier today. San Jose Sharks have traded goaltender Mackenzie Blackwood, forward Giovanni Smith, and a 5th-round draft pick in 2027 to the Colorado Avalanche for Alexander Georgiev Nikolai Kovalenko, a second-round draft pick in 2026, and a fifth-round draft pick in 2025. The Avalanche retained 14% of Georgiev's contract. Blackwood 6-9-3 record, 3 goals against, 9-11 save percentage. I'm just looking to see what the money is for Georgiev. So he has a cap hit of $3.4 million, and the Avalanche are keeping 14% of that. All right, that's just for my own nerdiness. I find that interesting. What do you make of this deal? I find this so fascinating, man. Like, we've talked about the Colorado Avalanche goaltending issues all year long. We talked about it all last year long as well. Georgie played well in the playoffs. Wasn't really the reason why they lost to Dallas. They just played a better team. It is what it is. You trade Georgie and a Noonan essentially for Wedgwood and Blackwood. The fact that they both are Woods, I find that pretty funny. There has to be a nickname coming somehow, like the trees on the Avalanche in the trees or the forest. I don't know. Called a tandem something. I don't know. I'm just saying, I guess that's better. Wedgwood and Blackwood. But is it better just because a Noonan and Georgie have sucked? Or is it actually better? What do you think of this deal? I find this very interesting.
It is very interesting because, I mean, if you just look at it in a vacuum, like if you just toss out the names, you'd probably say it's a lateral move. But if you ask Colorado, they're probably just thrilled to have new people back there. Not based on just this year, but years past. I mean, the goaltending's been horrific.
Yeah.
The first thing that jumped out to me about this trade is just San Jose committing to the tank. Obviously not going to make the playoffs or go anywhere this year, but they were kind of getting hot. They were winning some games. They woke up today. They were better than 2 teams in the standings, 2 whole teams, 2 Western Conference teams at that. I think they were just like, no, we can't have any of this. So they got a goalie that's been, by the numbers, one of the worst in the league this year. I mean, I love Georgie, and he had a nice stretch to end November. 6-game winning streak, I think, save percentage over 90. But he's been just brutal in Denver. They've been trying to get rid of him. They were ready to get rid of him. They found a team that was willing to take him. And the Sharks got some other things out of it. They got 2 draft picks. They got another prospect. Like, San Jose did what they had to do. Colorado got out of the deal. They got new goalies. They're hoping it'll serve them well, hoping it'll push them forward. It probably isn't going to be the solution they think it is, but we'll see. Most importantly, salary retention. So hot these days.
Yeah.
They got 86% of Georgie's salary off of their books. So kudos to them. Interesting trade. It's not a massive upgrade. At least it doesn't appear so on paper. Maybe for the vibes, maybe the numbers aren't misleading for what each goalie is doing. It's going to work out well for both sides for what they're trying to accomplish. For Colorado, that's getting back to the playoffs and hopefully getting back to the Cup. For San Jose, that's getting another very high draft pick so that they can start another long reign of playoff, I guess not dominance, but success appearances. You know, they were mainstays in the Western Conference playoffs and Western Conference finals really for a good number of years. So that's what they're going for again. And staying, not passing, or not letting, I don't even know how to phrase this when you're doing it backwards. Not passing Montreal, Detroit, Anaheim, all those teams right now in the standings is important for them. Trying to fall behind Nashville and Chicago could help them as well.
Yeah, I love that this is your angle, that you get Georgie and now you're fully committed to the tank. Like, poor Georgie, man. I feel bad for him. But you know what? From Colorado's perspective, it's really interesting to me because, you know, Georgie was your guy, and you had to play a Noonan, and there was some other guy they had that I forget his name that they had to play because Georgie was just not doing it. and they needed to play other guys. But Georgie was your guy. Last couple years in the playoffs, Georgie was your guy. Like, he was their number one goaltender. And not only have you gotten rid of him, but you have now fully committed to a tandem. Like, I don't think like Wedgwood or Blackwood. I know that Blackwood was the number one guy in San Jose, but I don't think that Mackenzie Blackwood is the number one guy on a Stanley Cup team. Now, doesn't mean he can't be in a tandem, because Mackenzie Blackwood's a good goaltender, man. We talked about it. We love watching the Sharks for some weird reason. And I mean, there's been nights where that guy stood on his head, bro. Like, he's a good goaltender. But now you have Blackwood and Wedgwood that seem to be a cut and dry tandem, 50% each. That's what it feels like. I obviously don't know, and time will tell. And Wedgwood's played pretty well in the last 3 games, 2-0-1 or 2 wins for sure. Maybe 2-1-0, but 2 wins. Like a .950 save percentage. Like, he's played well. So maybe they'll give him the reins here for a little bit. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I just find it really interesting. And it also speaks to, I don't have the numbers in front of me fully here, but it does speak to just how, like, the salary cap problems for Colorado. Like, this is their solution. And again, no disrespect to these guys, but this is really all they could do. They did the most with what they could do, with what they had. And here we go. I'm really interested to see what happens here in the future. All right, Andre, it's time. Since we've been gone, a la Kelly Clarkson, since you've been gone and since I've been gone, the Rangers.
First time.
Yeah. Can you? I don't know. The Rangers have traded Jacob Trouba on a wild Friday, where he was going to be waived and then not waived, and then eventually he was traded to the Anaheim Ducks, which I find very interesting for Anaheim. They now have Gudas and Trouba just wrecking havoc back there. Open ice hits left, right, and center. And lots of drama. Trouba coming out and saying they made me choose between me and my family, which I think is shady. I think this has really painted the Rangers management in a pretty bad light, if I'm being honest with you. I feel like this is a kind of a sour taste in everybody's mouth, but that's, I guess, a conversation for another day. And on the exact same day that their captain was traded away, they announced that Igor Shesterkin, like, I feel like, and this might just be me being picky and nitpicky or whatever the term is, you trade away your captain and within like 3 minutes you announce a superstar deal. Like, I feel like that could have been handled a little bit better, but that's just me. Igor Shesterkin signs 8-year, $11.5 million deal. Andre, how you feeling? Now, should add, over the course of the weekend, they lose. Jonathan Quick was in net yesterday. They lose an insane game to the Kraken. They lose 7-5. And then it was Friday night, I believe. They beat the Penguins 4-2. Andre, give me your thoughts, man. The floor is yours. We got 3 games to go over tonight. They're pretty. We'll go over those games quickly. Take all the time you need, Andre. How do you feel? Trouba gone, Igor staying, and the head office is a mess. I will say, sorry, real quickly. What's the? Oh man, my brain just escaped me. What's the owner's name again? Dolan.
James Dolan. I can't talk bad about him. He might ban me from the Garden. Keep going. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll talk about him then. That's fine. He might ban you. You're right about that. I'll talk about him for you. You think Chris Drury's been hanging out with James Dolan for too long? Because this whole thing smells like not great. Like all of this is just,
something is sketchy about this. Not the Igor part of it, but I don't know, man. Tell me what you got. How do you feel?
I don't think it was sketchy, really. I there's a million different things and tangents I could go off into. You might be better off just asking me specific questions. As far as the timing for Igor's extension, we'll start with that since that's the last thing that you kind of ended on. Maybe that was Igor sending a message. I wanted this guy off my team. No, it
Oh
wasn't
man,
Igor doing that.
I like that though. That's
But
a good talking point.
maybe it is. Maybe there's a little tension there. Like Jacob Trouba said, it's a rite of passage to get fired when you're a New York Rampton. It happened to Drury. He got bought out. Ryan Callahan, he got traded to the Lightning. Ryan McDonough, he got traded to the Lightning. Jacob Ryan Trouba just got traded to Anaheim. Chris Kreider, his entire career, he's had 3 captains. They've all been traded. So, I mean, this is just what happens. Is it the peak of stability or function? No, but we have a dysfunctional owner. So, not really surprised it happened. As far as the whole thing, Trouba didn't want to go. He had no trade clause. He had every right to have a no trade clause. He earned it. He used it to keep his family where he wanted to be. He wanted to keep his family intact in New York because his wife's residency. I respect that. I applaud that. You use your power, your leverage to do what's best for your family. That's what a man's supposed to do. The Rangers, they wanted him gone. They respected it kind of the first time, more so that Trouba scared everybody away. It got to a point in the season where they were like, you're gone one way or the other. They made it uncomfortable. They used their leverage because he didn't have a full no-move clause. They said, we're going to make this locker room uncomfortable. We want to win more than we care about your happiness or feelings. Could that backfire? Yes. Could that spark the team? Yes. We'll see the long-term effects shortly. But we knew the storm was coming. November 25th, after they lost to the Blues, we sat here on the show and said the storm was coming, and the storm is here. Troub's got to choose where he went. He went probably as far away as possible. I don't think there's a team further from New York than Anaheim, maybe San Jose or Vancouver.
Yeah.
But he's at his new destination now. It's part of the business. It sucks. You can say, you shouldn't have forced him out. Treat your captains better. Treat your players better. Understandable, but the team is committed to winning. This team is built to win. I can't really do that. And Trouba, the only reason he was a New York Ranger in the first place is because he strong-armed the Winnipeg Jets years ago to go to New York. He said, send me to New York. I understand feeling bad for the guy. I understand thinking the Rangers are cruddy what they did. But it's a business. Trouba's been on both sides of the business. The Rangers have been on both sides of the business. It's uncomfortable because the Rangers made it uncomfortable, and uncomfortable is what got the job done. As far as the team, there's still more problems to be handled. I think Ryan Lindgren is going to get traded at this point. Keandre Miller, every time he takes the ice, he's fighting for his life with this team or another one. He had one of the weirdest games I've ever seen yesterday, by the way. It was simultaneously amazing and terrible. What a wacky game that was. But the whole thing on Friday, you could feel it during the game. You could feel it in the Garden, especially that first period. There was so much nervous energy for the fans, the players. The first line started out kind of strong. I think they were trying to get a goal right away, send a message like, we understand, we got the message loud and clear, but there was a scoreless first period. There was just a lot of tension in that building. We fell behind 1-0. Team immediately responded. Team took a lead. Third period, especially the final few minutes, it wasn't worrying about whether they'd hold on, whether they'd choke, whatever. It was worried about whether Panarin would get a hat trick, whether Igor would get his first career goal. And as spoiled as it may sound, that's what the Rangers have been like the past couple of years. When it's the final few minutes, you're not worried about how the team's going to blow it. You're worried about, is Igor going to hit the empty net? You're worried about, is Trocheck, Panarin, whoever going to polish off the Hattie? So even though they lost the next game, even though there's still problems there, the crowd is alive again. It feels like the team is alive and has a resiliency again. There's some fight. Things feel better, even though they're not 100% perfect. So sometimes you got to make things uncomfortable to get where you need to go in life.
Yeah, and I have no, I guess like it is a business, and you're right. He had a full no trade clause, not a full move clause.
Yeah.
That's a very good point by you. That those two things are incredibly different. And I think that's an important thing to note in this conversation. So good job by you. I think what bothers me is like, you know, you yes, Truba signed the deal. He earned the deal, like you said. He earned the no trade clause. The Rangers signed it too.
Yeah.
Like you don't have a contract with only one person signing it. Like both organizations signed this contract, and you agreed on a no move clause. And the fact that he didn't want to move, I'm seeing some people talk about like, well, it's his fault. Like he should understand and he should know, man. Like you said, he signed the deal. They signed the deal. They did what they thought they needed to do to get him out, and they did it, and it worked. I don't I don't like I just being an outsider, the whole thing just feels icky. Like it just feels like him coming out and saying they made me choose between, my family and the team. Maybe it's semantics. Maybe they didn't say that word for word or like whatever it is, but it is business on both sides of this. So moving forward, as we wrap up this conversation, we got 3 games to break down tonight. What does this make you breathe easier about the state of your team? Because it's been a bit of a mess the last couple of weeks. You feel better about this moving forward. You feel like they can't be done. Is this enough? Because as much as Trouba isn't this like lockdown, shutdown defenseman that he's been in the past, and he's a lot more known now for his physicality than he is for his actual defensive play. Defensive issues are the reason why you guys are stumbling in the standings to begin with. And you just traded away when your key defenseman and your captain. How do you feel about that side of it?
I mean, I said, I don't remember if it was the playoffs or shortly after the Rangers were eliminated, but I remember saying on this show with you and John, Jacob Trouba was probably the worst player on the Rangers.
Right.
Not just defenseman, player. Now, this year, I wouldn't go that far. I'd say he was just the worst defender, not just skater overall, but especially for $8 million, he was not performing well, and he was a big part of the defensive problems. I feel like, it's tough to lose a guy like that. What he brought to the team, like as the past few years, it wasn't with the on ice ability at that point. It was more off the ice. It was more the hits and the, not afraid to start something and spark the team. I was at the game, fittingly enough, 2 years ago against the Blackhawks when we thought this core hit rock bottom, and he launched himself into somebody, got himself ejected, chucked his helmet into the tunnel. It was awesome. We lost 5-2 to a very bad team, but it was awesome. I remember walking out of that like, yeah, we're going to be fine. And sure enough, they rattled off a ton of wins in a row after that. They ended up being fine, 100-something points, made the playoffs. He's a good leader. There's a reason he was named captain. But at some point, especially with that price tag, you got to do your job. And, he wasn't doing his job. The Rangers needed the money to sign Igor. They needed the money to make the team competitive so that they could bring a cup home for the first time in 30 years. And they did what they had to do. I think it's going to make the team better. I think it already has in some ways made the team better. I know Sunday was weird and ugly, but the team, again, they showed fight. They put up goals. For the better part of that game, or for most of that game, they were the better team. I watched that over the Giants, believe it or not. So I think the team is going to be fine. I don't think they're done making moves. I think that was just the announcement of the storm.
I believe it. That's just.
I don't know. Igor getting that contract signed too, I think was more important because he looked a lot more comfortable and sharper against the Penguins. Like he looked really good in that game. He looked like himself.
Yeah, he did.
goalie is a mental position. He's a mental guy, but new contract, birth of his daughter. He's living the life right now, and he kind of looks like it. And I can't wait to see it tonight.
What I'm really curious about, and we'll wrap it up with this. What I'm really curious about is the next few years, because you now have one of the best goaltenders in the world. Some people say he's the best. I think he's a clear 1 or a 2, right? I think you have, in my personal opinion, I think you have Hellebuck, Shesterkin. You can pick 1 or 2 for either of them. I think they're easily the 2 best goalies in the league. Then Jake Ottinger, I think, is the 3rd best goalie in the league. And then you can take your pick after that. You got Demko, you got Markstrom, you can kind of take your pick. But I think 1 and 2, however way like you like rank them, is Hellebuck and Shesterkin. And I think Jake Ottinger's made a name for himself as number 3, right? $11.5 million. Yes, the cap is going up a bunch. They're projecting in the next 5 years, it'll go up as little as $10 million. So the cap will be going up a lot over the next few years.
Yeah.
At the same time, you don't want this championship window to close without a championship and an $11.5 million goaltender. And I'm really curious to see how they operate here moving forward. You have guys like Kreider and Trocheck and Zibanejad, who are all very good players, won't be around forever, right? I know like Lafreniere is a really good player. Like, I'm just curious, man. And that isn't meant to be like negative or positive. I'm just saying my own curiosity as a hockey fan. I'm really curious to see, like, if you don't win in the next 3, 4, 5 years, and now you got an $11.5 million goaltender, and he has to get traded to the Islanders,
Okay.
That's a little Juan Soto. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. But anyway, I'm just curious to see. And don't worry, he won't go to the Islanders because they'll be paying Sorokin still, so it's fine.
Fortunately, the Rangers have done this already within the past 10 years. Shout out to Henrik Lundqvist. I love you.
You know what's funny?
Always.
I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about how the goaltending tandem, or not tandem, but the goaltending situation for the Rangers is pretty much the Green Bay Packers. Like, you go from Favre to Rodgers to now Jordan Love looks like the real deal. He's looking great. Obviously, growing pains or whatever, but he looks like your guy over there. You got Favre, Rodgers, Love, Mike Richter, Lundqvist, and Shesterkin. Like, just beautiful. Beautiful. So good.
It's been a blessing. It'd be nice if we matched the Packers in championships, but it's been a blessing. I know how fortunate
since Favre was drafted, or I guess traded there, I guess he wasn't drafted.
2-1.
Yeah, they have 2. And you won yours around the same time.
Yeah.
I believe Favre won 96? You guys won 95 or 94 around there?
Yeah.
So
94.
And then they won one in 2010, and you've been to a bunch of conference finals. They've been to a bunch of NFC championships. It's very parallel.
Is the state of Florida our San Francisco? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now?
Yeah, I guess I am. I had to. My brain is acting slow on what you just said, but I think that is what I'm saying. Defense, not great. Offense, really good. It's all kind of the same. You know what I mean? But anyway, so with that, we will move on. And, of course, we will segue perfectly into the 3 games that are all on at the same time. And if you have watched this show at all, you know how much I love to have 3 good games all on at the exact same time. Wonderful job by the NHL. The Chicago Blackhawks start us off at 7:09 p.m. EST in New York to take on the New York Rangers. Rangers minus 255 on the money line. Blackhawks plus 205. Minus 1.5 for the Rangers is plus 106. Blackhawks plus 1.5, minus 130. Over is 5.5. Minus 140, and the under is plus 114. Andre, what do you got here, man? Blackhawks not playing well. Rangers need a spark. What do you see here? Blackhawks, Rangers.
Yeah, the thing I see here are things we already talked about, so I'm going to try to make this brief. Chicago's been awful, like really, 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 really bad, worse than the league bad.
Yeah.
And they've allowed 4 goals in 3 straight. They allowed 6 goals in the game before that. The Rangers, they've scored at least 4 goals in 3 of their last 4 games.
Yep.
4, they had the nightmare against the Devils, even though their offense looked, that was their highest shots on goal game, actually. Their offense did look really good in that game. Just couldn't crack Markstrom, but only 1 goal against the Devils, then 4 against Pittsburgh, 5 against Seattle yesterday. Wow, that was yesterday. It feels so long ago. And I know the Blackhawks, they have talent, allegedly. If they give up 4 or 5 goals, they're not staying in this game. I mean, that's just what we've seen from all season. That's just general NHL consensus. And I mean, it's just a bad Blackhawks team. And Igor Shesterkin, he got paid. There's no more distraction. He looked a lot better against the Penguins, and the Penguins are playing pretty good hockey right now. I don't want to discredit what he did on Friday, because the Penguins looked really good in that game.
Yeah.
He was just sharp. Chicago is not playing like the Penguins. They're not playing like the Winnipeg Jets. They're barely playing like the Nashville Predators. So Igor's in net. I'm going to take the Rangers minus 1.5. I'm expecting at least 4 goals from them. I don't think Chicago has more than 2 in them. It might not be the most comfortable. We've seen Chicago start some games strong. But I think a 4-2 win is how the Rangers take this one tonight. So I like the puck line.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm taking Rangers minus 1.5 as well. Panarin, man. I don't know if this is just me, like maybe other people are paying more attention to this. For me, Panarin 34 points is maybe the quietest 34 points in the league right now, just because of all the noise that's been happening in New York land. Like, it's been so negative for the past month. Panarin just 15 goals, 19 assists, no big deal. Like, to me, it's been really quiet. I haven't really even noticed, and I have it set up on my Twitter where I get notifications every single goal that happens in the NHL. It goes to my phone. That's how much of a degenerate gambler I am, and I see Panarin's name every night. I just haven't really thought about it. So I'm taking the Rangers minus 1.5. Panarin to get a goal tonight is currently locked. That is super helpful. But for him to get 2 points is plus 144. And I like that bet a lot. Panarin plus 144 for him to get 2 points. And I like the Rangers minus 1.5 as well. Moving on to the Detroit Red Wings in Buffalo. Beautiful staggered start. Chicago Rangers is 709. Detroit Buffalo is 710. So perfect NHL stagger. Buffalo Sabres minus 128. Was minus 126. It's now minus 128. The Detroit Red Wings plus 106. Minus 1.5 for Buffalo is plus 186, plus 1.5 for the Red Wings, minus 235. The over is 6.5 at plus 104, and the under is minus 128. What do you got, bro? Red Wings, Sabres.
Yeah, we got 2 of those teams we don't like doing, so that's tough.
Yep.
2 are in our favor. These teams have met twice already, though. In Buffalo, this is on the fly math here, but if I'm not mistaken, Buffalo's outshooting them 71-48 this season.
Oof.
Even though they lost the most recent matchup 2-1, they outshot Detroit 32-23. In the first game, 5-3, outshot them 39-25. So really just getting those shots off. That tends to mean success in this sport. I know it doesn't always, but it tends to. And both teams are on a losing streak. Both defenses have been kind of meh lately. I guess Detroit's been a little bit better. Both offenses have been pretty inconsistent lately. There's not really much to like for either side right now,
No.
but we have head-to-head history. We have we have 120 minutes worth of head-to-head history. And Buffalo is, at least shots on goal wise, dominated in those 120 minutes. So I'm going to take Buffalo at home, minus 125. Don't really know what else to expect from either of these teams, but that's just it in a game where it could probably be 1-1 heading into OT and both teams try their best to get an own goal. Buffalo has, at least, they're probably going to get more shots up, you'd expect.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm taking Buffalo as well. My first thought was actually the over, but my brain is kind of blended between this year and last year. Like I don't really like the over is largely a last year stat. However, you said it, man. Like I like UPL. I'm rooting for the guy. Hasn't played that great recently. I don't know. Like I'm kind of leaning the over here. I like Buffalo too. It's funny, right? Because you look at this line, minus 126 plus 105. You think, okay, pretty close teams. Do you know how close these teams actually are to being the exact same? Like Buffalo, 11-13-3, 25 points. Detroit, 10-13-4, 24 points. Where is it here? Home, Buffalo, 6-8-2. Detroit, 5-7-2. Away, Buffalo's 5-5-1. Detroit, 5-6-1. Last 10, Buffalo, 3-5-2. Detroit, 3-4-3. Buffalo's lost one in a row. One in a row. They've lost one. The last one. Detroit's lost two in a row. Like they're literally like verbatim, like the same team this year, which I don't know who that's better or worse for. But I'm taking Buffalo as well for all the reasons you laid out. I'm right there with you. I also love me some JJ Peterka plus 200 to score and Tage Thompson plus 130. This guy is pissed not being on the Four Nations Cup team. He's coming out and he's going to get cookies plus 130 for Tage Thompson. And Lucas Raymond, funny enough, he's been scoring lately. He is plus 190. Just make sure. I remember he has 4 goals in the last 5 games, 6 points in those last 5 games as well. I like Lucas Raymond to get a goal. I like Peterka to get a goal. And I like Buffalo to win. All right, last game. Wrap it up. Anaheim, Montreal. I'm actually kind of looking forward to this game. This is the game that I settled on that I'm going to watch tonight. I don't really know why, but I'm feeling it. Anaheim, also because the Ducks away jerseys are just way more, like I can handle them way more than I can their home swag. Plus 122 Anaheim Ducks in Montreal. Montreal is minus 146. Where am I here? Minus 1.5 for the Canadians is plus 164. Plus 1.5 for the Ducks is minus 205. The over is 6.5 at plus 106. The under is minus 130. Andre, not only what do you think between the Ducks and the Canadians tonight, but are these teams that different? Why is Montreal minus 146? I don't understand. West Coast coming to East Coast. I don't know. Like Montreal's been better as of late, I guess, but I don't really understand why it's minus 146. This feels like this should be way closer.
Yeah, moments like this, I wish I could speak French because then I could, really just tear into you. I have no idea. Bell Center is the best I got. I mean, the Canadians have been better at home this year. I know they lost last time they were home to the Capitals. They won the 2 games before that. An OT loss before that. And then a few more wins. So, I mean, they've been handling business at home, 6-2 on home ice. But Anaheim's 5-3-2 on the road. It's not like they've been better on the road than they have been at home. I think just overall this season, you look at what these teams have done. Anaheim's been better. Fewer games played, same number of points. I guess just 2 fewer losses, but a much better goal differential as well. Not really understanding this line. I've kind of liked betting on Anaheim anyway this year. They
Yeah.
just compete. I mean, it depends on the matchup. But they play like a really good team, like when they played Vegas, when they played Minnesota. Stay away from those. But when they play like the Kraken, I'm pretty sure we both took Ducks against the Kraken a couple
Yep.
weeks ago. Like that was a good pick. When they played Ottawa, that was a good pick. They compete. Nothing really stands out about them besides the 5-on-5 defense, but they just compete. And I guess the goaltending too. They have really good goaltending. Montreal, good special teams. That's about it. It's going to be a tight one. This is honestly, from a betting perspective, this is probably a stay away from me. But I'm leaning towards the Ducks plus money just because I think they've been a better team this year. And they definitely have the better goaltending.
Well, that's number one for me is the goaltending. I know that Sam Montembeault is on the Canada's Four Nations Cup team. And first of all, congratulations to Sam Montembeault, but also no disrespect to Sam Montembeault, but we don't have any good goaltenders in Canada. Like Jordan Binnington, Aiden Hill, and Sam Montembeault are not Connor Hellebuck, Jake Ottinger. Like the American goaltending compared to Canada, it is what it is. Like it's no disrespect, it's just a fact. But I've said it all year long. I really like Gibson and Dostal both in net tonight. I think Dostal is starting, but I haven't confirmed that. I like Anaheim here. I've watched both of these teams quite a bit so far this year, and when Montreal has been bad, it's been really, really, really bad. And Anaheim, their record is not great. They're near the bottom of the league. They're at the bottom of their division, even like below the Sharks. But the Ducks, they play better than their record. And for a rebuilding team, that's what you want, right? When you're a team that's not expected to win, when you know you're going to be in the bottom of the league, all you want to see is a team work hard. Now, listen, Friday against the Wild, they lost 5-1. Wednesday against the Golden Knights, they lost 4-1. Those are two of the best teams in the league. Vegas came into the season as Stanley Cup contenders, and the Wild have now revealed themselves as Stanley Cup contenders over the course of the last 2 months. Before that, they beat Ottawa 4-3, lost to the Kings 2-1, beat the Kraken 5-2, lost to the Kraken 3-2, lost to Buffalo 3-2, beat Chicago and Dallas both 3-2 and 4-2 respectively, beat Detroit 6-4, lost to Vegas 3-2, beat Columbus 4-2. Like, my point is, most of these games are really close, whether they win or they lose. They're competing every night, and I just like what I'm seeing from the Ducks, and I'm taking them plus 122 on the road as well. For you Canadian hockey fans, this is the Amazon Prime game of the night tonight, so enjoy that broadcast. And we will move on to our best bets and get out of here. Brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Right now, with promo code SportsAddict, get 10% off the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off tons of cards, and with our promo code SportsAddict, you get 10% off of regular priced and sales priced items. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code for 10% off the entire store. Firstroundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. Andre, what do you got, bro? Best bet of the night. Give it to me.
Yeah, 3 games. three games and 5 teams that don't really inspire confidence, and a 6th team that is probably the most tumultuous in the NHL right now. So that's fun. Not a lot of confidence to go around, but I always wear blue. Blue's my favorite color. Blue's my favorite everything. New York Rangers -1.5 at home.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm taking Anaheim plus 122. Just laid it out. Don't need to go over it again. And I'm so confident in what our family play is going to be that I already punched this in. Before you even started talking about the Rangers, I already knew what was happening. Family play. Buffalo. Yeah.
Buffalo.
We're taking Buffalo.
Yeah, it was in mine too. I'm proud. I like
Look at us, eh? We finish we finish each other's sandwiches or
That's
whatever.
what I was gonna say.
Yeah, the sandwiches part 2.
Yeah.
Oh, look at us go. -1.5 Rangers. Moneyline Buffalo. Moneyline Anaheim on FanDuel. It is +714. What do you got over there on DK?
This hurts. 706.
Oh, you're right there.
706. Yeah.
You are right there. Everybody, thank you as always so much for watching. We appreciate you. Whether you're watching live or for some reason right before puck drop, you're tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Good luck on your bets. Shout out First Round Collectibles, promo code SPORTSMAN for 10% off your order. Shout out to Apex Sports. Lots of good stuff going on over there. Lots of fantasy conversation, lots of football, lots of baseball. I know the baseball player who just got signed that Andre doesn't want to talk about. Lots of coverage over there. So head over to apexsports.com. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a great night. Good luck on your bets. We'll see you next time.